Get gaming.
Hello, everybody, and the D-Pod, your directional podcast for the 14th of February 2016. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. It's been a while since we recorded. We actually missed a week because of some internal issues at Get Gaming, but we're back. Without further ado, I'm here, joined today by Jeffrey Hoegee.
Hi, guys.
Julie Elmkvist Hansen.
Hey.
And Johnnie Rogers.
Hey.
And I'm your host, Dennis Onderdijk. And, well, let's kick it off today. What have you been playing, guys? What have you been playing? We'll start with you, Julie. What have you been playing this week?
Oh, I've been playing so much. Well, first of all, I've been playing some Diablo 3 with you, Dennis.
I know.
We've been doing some Crusader stuff and running some tiers, and you've been helping me getting some gear as well. And that's been really fun. Dennis has been helping me getting the gear for the Thorns build for the Crusader. And right now I have the entire set. I'm still missing, some of the small pieces, but I can really tell the difference. Yeah, but you can really tell the difference. It's just like the mobs are looking at you and you just fell over. So that's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's exactly what I told you. Like, the build is very strong, like right out of the gate.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's just room for improvement from there. Instead of like having big gear breaks where you like get a piece of gear, then do a lot more DPS. It's more like a steady increase. It's a steady curve in your DPS. And you'll see,
definitely.
Especially with survivability, as soon as you figure out how to fine-tune your build and your rerolls, you'll be just fine.
Yeah, I think like that's the point where I'm at right now, is that I'm doing a lot of damage, but I can't take anything back. I die so easily, so...
I'll help you with that. It's no problem.
Yeah.
I can help you out as a Crusader veteran.
Right. You gotta teach me.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of my responsibility to take like students under my wings.
Teach me, senpai.
Yes, please,
basically,
senpai.
Yeah. All right, so what else?
I've been doing some leveling of a character in World of Warcraft. Just chilling, really. Nothing special. Other than that, I've played some point and click games. I don't know if you guys have played a lot of that, but there's like, it's very simple games, and I've mostly been buying them off Steam.
She's been playing Freddy Fish.
No, it's actually called Princess Isabella.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's as bad as it sounds.
Yeah, you've been sick, right? So...
I have been sick, so I haven't been up to very much, and I've been wanting to game, but I haven't had the energy to do so. And just sitting in front of your computer, just clicking the screen and finding finding items that go together with the story, and just watching a fairy tale, basically. That sounded pretty good.
I have something that if you're ever sick again and you want to play a good game, like with a good story, I highly recommend the Ace Attorney series.
Like, I've heard about it, but I haven't played it.
Johnny can attest to that as well, I think, because he's probably played all of them as well.
No objection, but I have not played all of them.
Oh.
I have not played all of them. I played, I think maybe the demo off of one of them on my 3DS, and that's it. I have not.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, and especially you, because you're gonna love it. Like,
I kind of want to play the spin-off with Professor Layton. I kind of like that one.
I don't like Professor Layton, and it's like more Professor Layton featuring Phoenix Wright. Like, he's not in there that much.
True.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's totally a game you guys should try if you're ever like in the mood to just follow a story and to go with it and to read a book. Basically, you should totally try that game. It has a couple of logic puzzles in there, so it's a little bit challenging, but not too much. And the rush you get when a case like falls together, when all the pieces fall into the right places in your head and you figure it out, that one moment, that one snap, oh, that's so good. Especially when the music starts playing and you're like, and you start to like feel like a lawyer or a detective. Trust me, if you're done playing those games like for a week or two, you'd be like slapping your desk going like, objection, that kind of thing.
All right, that sounds good. I'll check it out. Definitely.
So anything else?
I did pick up a little bit of BioShock 2 because the last podcast, I think I told you guys that I had been playing BioShock 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
So yeah, I finished that up and I started a little bit on BioShock 2. But yeah, I got sick, so it was a bit rough to go around shooting people's heads off.
Well,
Yeah.
shooting people's heads off is good therapy, though. So, you know.
True.
All right. So, Jeffrey, what about you?
You really have to ask that.
Well, we all know you've been playing Hello Kitty Island Adventure, but we want to hear the details, all right?
Aw, that's so kawaii.
Aw.
Well, I finally finished Final Fantasy X to 100% completion, so I was pretty excited about that, and started a new game plus for Final Fantasy X too, and played some, of course, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, did some pro ladders with my team, and I made some progress with the Elder Scrolls Online, not too much, but
How far are you along in that game?
I'm just currently just messing about in the free world. The prison thing was so confusing at first because for some reason my map is glitched, or rather my radar. It says you have to go down or up, and if you go there, it says you have to go back down. It's ridiculous, but you know, I finally figured it out, and now I'm just kind of roaming the free world, and that was pretty much my week.
All right, Johnny, what about you?
A few weeks back, I signed up for a closed beta for Cardfighter Online, and I got my code in. So I have been streaming that for a bit, and I've been giving my reviews and ideas for the beta. So it's been
All right,
kind of fun.
nice.
And
So
that's
all
been
you've
it,
been
actually. That's all I've been doing.
Well, in that case, let me open my book because I've been busy this week.
Of course you
Lay it
have.
on us.
I've been busy.
Now, children.
Story time.
Well, first of all, one of the most notable things I played this week was I played a lot of Crypt of the Necrodancer. And I've been meaning to pick up this game for a long time, and I haven't. And now it was on sale, so I kind of had to get it.
What platform is it on?
It's just gotten a PS4 and Vita release, but it's originally a PC game. So,
All right.
and I wanted to play it on PC as well because of the mechanical keyboard thing. Like, plays a lot better than a controller in that sense, especially when you want to keep a good rhythm going. Let me just say, this game is brilliant. Like, there's a lot of humor there. It starts out, you as an adventurer are going after your father, who went into a certain crypt of the Necrodancer. Now, the premise of the game is you have to move to a beat. And the story explanation for that is a necromancer stole your heart. So you have to move to the beat of the music. So every floor of a dungeon has a certain theme playing to it. And it's the music is just so good. There's drum and bass, there's dubstep, and there's even some metal songs. And you have to move to the beat. You have to attack to the beat. As soon as you miss a beat, you lose your coin multiplier. And coins are very important. You need a lot of gold to get through the dungeons and get good items and stuff like that. But the game is so good. And in one thing, like especially, there's a certain state of mind you reach when you play certain games. The flow state. Like when the difficulty is slowly ramped up and at one point, like you realize that you're in a state where you're inputting faster than you can think about it. That kind of flow state. Like Guitar Hero does it really well, all these rhythm games, and especially this one. Like you start out, you play the game, and you have a lot of difficulty keeping to the beat. You have a lot of difficulty figuring out your next move because all the enemies follow a certain pattern, and you have to figure these patterns out. But as soon as you do that, and as soon as you get used to moving to the beat, the game is so much fun. There's a lot of humor in there. There's skeletons in there. And the skeletons like raise their hands before they attack. So they literally raise the roof before they attack. And there's like slimes that just headbang in place for a while, that kind of thing. Especially the bosses are really funny as well. Like you've got this boss called King Konga, for instance. And it's just what you would expect. It's a big gorilla, but there's a conga song playing in the background, and you actually have to move to the conga beat, including like standing still for a split second. And there's these.
Why am I imagining Donkey Kong?
No, that's kind of the joke there.
Right.
I can't imagine like trying to be like seriously defeating a boss while you're listening to conga music. That sounds hilarious.
Well, the thing is, there's like two long lines of enemies doing like two conga lines basically, and they're moving through the room, and then at one point you have to like stand still because it's a conga song.
Yeah.
So you have to stand still, and the entire room is standing still, and you're like, and then you started like moving again. It's so much fun. There's also a boss called Deep Blues, and I'm not sure if you guys know what Deep Blue is, but it's a chess AI. It's one of the first chess AIs to beat grandmasters in chess. And they're that and just it's like a double pun because the music is like blues. All right, that kind of makes sense, but the actual boss battle is a chess game, and the enemies move like chess pieces. It's really stupid, but it's so much fun.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting.
Also, something I've picked up this week that's been a hot item in the gaming industry and like the gaming community is The Witness. And we
talked about the release of that game.
Yeah,
a whole lot of.
Yeah, The Witness was Jonathan Blow's next game, and Jonathan Blow is the person who came up with Braid, and Braid is one of the first indie games to get like really big, right?
Yeah.
And now he's been working on this project for years, for I'm not sure how long exactly, but it's been years. And he finally released it, and it's a good game, but it's very mysterious, and there's a certain mindfuck element to it, as far as I've heard. Like especially when you get farther into the game. I haven't reached that point yet. I'm just in the happy walking around solving puzzles point, and I heard from a lot of people that it's not healthy to like play that game for too long because you'll get burnt out on it, and you won't appreciate the ending as much, or you'll never reach the ending. Period. So I've just been playing that for like an hour at a time and then putting it down and playing something else. Well, apart from that, I have been playing Elder Scrolls Online a lot. My friends have been urging me to like go level your character. You got to play with us. Okay. So I started playing that game, making a tank and just going through the MMO motions at this point. I've also picked up an old favorite of mine. Well, old. It's I think it's a year and 1 day old. It's Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. It's one of my favorite games of all time. And I've picked it up again, having put it down because of, kind of hitting a wall and not really being motivated to play anymore. But now I picked it up, and it's so good. I forgot how good that game was.
Well, that's really fun, though, when you pick up games that you used to love before, like ages ago, like one of your favorite games, and you haven't played them in like such a long time, and you pick them up and you're like, this is this is why I loved it so much.
Well, it's not ages by any stretch of the word. Like I've played one quest one or there, but this is one of the first times in months that I actually
Yeah.
played more than just one quest. And there's a reason my 3DS has like Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate plates on it, and why I have like free Monster Hunter themes on my 3DS. It's so good. I forgot how good the online is, how much fun it is to actually play with people, how fun it is to try new weapons. And man, I've already put like 200 hours in this game so far, but there's just more to come because I'm far from done. It's one of the games with the most replayability on the market right now. It's crazy. Like you think you've reached the end, nope. There's an entire different level for you to explore, like a different level of questing, and it just keeps going. There's no end to it.
But that's good though.
That's
That
that's
it
pretty
constantly
good.
has that it has kind of new content all the time, so you don't
Well,
outplay it.
yeah, I know what you mean, but Monster Hunter has been notorious for this. Is the games have so much replay value, and
Yeah.
you'll never truly master the game. There's just no way. There's, I believe, 14 weapon types, and they're all very fun to play. They're all very different, and I don't know if you guys have ever played Monster Hunter, but it's um, kind of like Dark Souls combat taken to the extreme, right? Dark Souls combat is really hard but really fair. And as soon as you figure out the behavior of certain enemies, you'll get them down very quick.
In
Without
Monster Hunter, that's not the case.
in Monster Hunter, that is totally the case.
No, but I mean, from when I like playing it, I played the first one. I never really played any of the other iterations of it and stuff like that. I found that to me, I got a lot of gratification out of beating monsters with like leather plate and like bone tooth great swords and stuff like that. It felt really exhilarating running across the map because the places looked also so well done, so well made, and it was out for PSP at the time, so it was really enjoyable.
Oh, that's not the first one. Then the first one is PS2, I believe. The one you played on PSP is probably Monster Hunter Freedom Unite.
No. No.
It probably is though. If you played it on PSP, it's Freedom Unite.
Let me see for a second. Then.
The thing is, while you fact check this, that game is just so like a lot of games rely on something that I'm going to bring up like right after this, progression systems. Like a lot of games require levels and require a certain amount of underlying math
Yeah.
to calculate like what your progression is. This game doesn't rely on that. How you get better in this game is by getting better as a player. Like when you get hit by a monster, it's your own damn fault. You shouldn't have been standing there. It's hard, but if you study the mannerisms of a monster, then you'll know at one point that they're gonna do an attack that's gonna hit there. So you shouldn't stand there. Like it's the old Dark Souls philosophy where you go, okay, so I like one of the most safest places to stand is between the monster's legs, like right up to them, and it's so cool. And I forgot how good it feels to get better by grinding your own gear, by just killing a monster and cutting parts off it and just working that into new gear. I forgot how much fun this is, and every time I talk about it, I just want to play it again.
Well, it sounds like you've been busy then.
In before Dennis plays it after the podcast.
Oh no, no. That's actually that's not going to happen because I have some things to record after this, and I promised Julie that I play some Diablo with her. So
Ah,
all the carries.
it's like a Valentine's date, but with Diablo.
Aw.
Carry Inc.
Yep.
Oh, I've played more this week. I've played more Fantasy Life on 3DS. I picked that up again. It's basically offline RuneScape. There's not much to it. But it is fun though. The rest, there's not really much more I've been playing. I've just been playing a lot of certain games this week. Just not that many games. All right. I think that's all I've been playing. So how about we move on to our topics for today? And I wanted to open myself, actually, because it's a nice segue from the progression systems in Monster Hunter to my topic. And that is progression systems in games. A lot of games these days, they rely on leveling systems, and a lot of games, they incorporate RPG elements into their gameplay. There's nothing wrong with that because I love RPG elements. But there's got to be a way to do this better, because there's a lot of games that use these kind of skewed Skinner box principles to keep you playing. Like a lot of MMOs do this. Like their progression system is solely based on new gear, and every time you get a new piece of gear, you're farther on in your progression that wants to make you play more to get the next piece of gear. And I'm not saying it's bad, because I play a lot of Diablo 3, and that is basically the poster child of a Skinner box progression system. But I want to hear about games that do this right. And I just named one of them. That's Monster Hunter. There's no levels in there. There's just getting better, getting to know the monsters, and getting moving the fuck out of the way quickly before they hit you. Yeah. You don't, and you get new gear not by random drops. No, you get gear by crafting it yourself from the components you carve off from monsters. And I wanted to know, and I wanted to ask you guys, if there's games you think that do progression systems right.
DVoiceHAX Human Revolution.
You think?
Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily like a Skinner system. You don't necessarily see, you don't physically see what type of, character progression that you make, on the character himself. But when you use abilities, when you unlock certain, chip upgrades, you're allowed to, hack faster, stuff like that. It is still sort of linear in that aspect, but you do have the freedom to choose what route you want to be, as being a destructive type of person that goes in guns blazing, destroys opponents with very little remorse, or you can be a little bit more stealthy, try to have a clean mission and stuff like that. And I think DVoiceHAX is a good representation of that type of platform.
Well, I've played that game, and I've heard, not just from me, I've been through this myself, but I heard from a lot of players that the progression system is actually bad, because it lets you pick between 3 skill trees, I believe, and you can just add points into certain augments that enable you to do certain things, or take more damage, or take down 2 enemies at a time. But my problem with that game is if you don't start out with the right abilities, you can work yourself into a corner where you won't get out of. Like, I played that game, and I got stuck at a boss that I haven't beaten to this game. I loved the game. I loved the story. I loved the premise. But there's this weapon in the game. It's called the Typhoon, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a weapon where you kneel down and all these ball bearings shoot out of you as some kind of cyborg.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people use those to cheese bosses, because they deal a lot of damage and they're easy to take down if you don't have to aim them. You can't really miss them. But if you don't use that, then the boss battles get so much harder. And I picked the stealthy approach, right? Because I'm a big stealth game player. I chose the stealthy approach. And what happened is that those stealth abilities have no traction whatsoever. They have no effect on boss battles. So boss battles were insanely hard for me. I get that you bring up the game, but I personally disagree.
Okay. Well, as I said already, the decisions that you make during the game, or the choices, are something that I kind of like about it. And as I said before, you have the option of choosing to be brute force, using, of course, the Typhoon, using this saw mechanic whenever you want to kill off an enemy, when you get them into a combo and stuff like that, doing the extra damage and killing them and leaving bodies around, and you get spotted easier. And it's kind of like it depends what you want to go for. If you want to go for boss battles, of course, more damage is more key. But if you want to have a little bit more challenge or get more out of your game, I guess, you can go for the stealthy approach and go for like a submachine gun when you know a boss battle is coming around, and that kind of helps a little bit. It doesn't help a lot, but it helps. It helps every now and again.
I use the same approach. The only thing I think that games like that should do, where you have multiple skill trees that focus on totally different approaches, is that every approach should be equally viable.
I get you. Like having like small like
Yeah.
interactions on the map itself, like disabling your opponent in some sort of fashion. I guess EMPs and things like that. I guess or what you were looking for.
No, I mean more like every approach should be viable. Like I want to go into a boss battle and find out that my stealth is just as useful as my combat tree, for instance.
True.
So you don't work yourself in the corner the way a lot of people did with Deus Ex Human Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
But enough about that.
To picking something specific, and then they can't
Exactly.
roll with what they want to. Yeah,
Exactly. Like you don't always want to min max. You don't always want to have the optimal build. You want to have a build that feels fun. And I think Deus Ex HR kind of like missed the boat on that one. How about you, Julia? Do you have any games that you think have a great progression system that's worth mentioning?
Well, I think personally, I'm not really into, you know, what you said about grinding, you know, levels and stuff like that, and having gear be the deciding factor.
Oh, so that's why you play a lot of World of Warcraft. Because you don't like it.
Wow!
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Shots fired, indeed. I think the games I enjoy the most, I think, are games like platform games or even some FPS games where you steadily throughout the game unlock abilities that make you stronger, but also that the maps, the areas, and the mobs, the monsters, are getting steadily harder to deal with as well. And not just like they're punching harder or whatever, but they're actually taking more skill out of you as a player to defeat. Not just with the new abilities, but you actually have to you have to be immersed in the game, and you have to have learned how to play the game and on a better level, basically. And I think several platform games are definitely doing this, right? Ori and the Blind Forest, for example, which I played a few weeks back, is that kind of game where you
you mean like the Metroidvania style of progression?
Yeah, exactly, where you unlock abilities as you go, and you encounter mobs which are steadily growing harder to defeat as well, with new abilities of, you know, for themselves too. And I think that's kind of interesting, because you're not just piling on gear and harder hitting, you know, weapons to hit the mobs harder. Because I feel like in World of Warcraft, if you are a level 12 or if you are a level 54 and you're out in the world grinding mobs, it'll feel exactly the same at that point, because the mobs will hit you just as hard as you hit them, compared with the level scaling and the gear scaling. And there's not really much fun in that if you keep encountering the same abilities the entire way.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Yeah,
like that's a good example of a bad progression system in my book.
Yeah, definitely.
There's of course, World of Warcraft is a prime example for this. Like,
Yeah.
not only does the combat feel the same at every level, of course you get a new ability, but it's just worked into the rotation.
Yeah.
It doesn't open up new kinds of enemies. And the
Yeah,
fact that it's just a
exactly.
Skinner box system where you have to hope for random loot to drop to keep you playing and to progress you as a player farther into the experience.
Exactly. And I think that games that are like that, like World of Warcraft, like Diablo 3, for example, are relying very heavily on endgame content. I mean, at that point, players are not exactly playing the game just for the leveling experience anymore. They're playing the game for the endgame content. Like the Greater Rift, like the seasons, for example, in Diablo 3, like the raids and stuff like that in World of Warcraft. And yeah.
I'll be
It
honest.
should be fun leveling as well, and
I'll be
going
honest.
through the game.
The leveling experience in Diablo was never really much to write home about. Like, the story wasn't great.
Yeah, exactly.
The one villain that they could have done so much with just got degraded into just laughing maniacally all the time. like Zoltan Cool, or Sultan Cool, as I love to call him. But
True.
like the Skinner box progression in Diablo that's kind of weird because it's the other side of the spectrum. It's purely a Skinner box based progression, and indeed it's all in the end game.
Yeah.
But I kind of play the game because of that. It's weird because I heard this on another podcast that I won't name, or maybe I will, like the Talking Reckless podcast. Check them out if you want to. One of the hosts on there said that Diablo is basically cookie clicker. It's basically cookie clicker, but instead, well, it is. It is.
What?
You're just clicking cookies until you get a better cookie clicking machine that you can click more cookies with. And that's the same in Diablo. Instead of clicking cookies, it's clicking monsters until they die and their guts fly all over the place. It's the same thing. And I kind of agree. It's the same system.
Yeah.
Purely skin and box based. It's just make your numbers go higher so you can do higher numbers.
But I think Diablo is playing heavily on being that game which is like that as well, though.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, they're definitely pulling it off compared to many other games.
Now, they are implementing a lot of systems that make that transition and that progression a lot smoother, though. So that is kind of why they're doing that right, is because they're tweaking that curve to feel more satisfying and to keep people playing. So What about you, Jeffrey? Do you have like any games that stand out progression-wise?
Yeah, for me that would totally be Final Fantasy X.
But that's how Final Fantasy is like one of the most stale progression systems out there. It's you unlock certain abilities at certain levels with no real there's no deviation from it. It's set in stone.
The level system has kind of been removed in 10. You basically make use of a sphere grid, and for beginners you have a beginner sphere grid, and for people that replay the game like me, they have an advanced sphere grid, which makes it way easier to max out your characters. But it's not really gear oriented. Of course there are weapons you can customize, but you can't do that unless you're very halfway down the storyline. So I think it was a Guado Salam. You get a character that allows you to customize gear. So until that point, all your damage, your HP, and all that stuff is totally based on your stats. So for me, it's really great because the sphere grid allows you to move freely across the board. You can decide what you want to level and what you don't want to level up. You can decide what ability you want to. It's not you unlock that ability at some point. But for me, it's really great to to just play the game and not be dependent on gear.
All right. Well, that's your example then. I think, I haven't played the game. I haven't played Final Fantasy that much altogether, so I don't really have an opinion on it, and I can't really talk about it. And I think we should move on to the next topic. And Julie, what do you have for us this week?
What do I have? Well, I wanted to talk about online sales, game sales, by the way, versus IRL sales. And I'm thinking about shops then, gaming shops in our towns and our cities compared to the places where you can buy them online. There are so many places online now that like Humble Bundle, Steam, Origin, etc. You also have PlayStation Store and whatnot, and you can buy games virtually and get the files. And I feel like there are so many sales that we are constantly buying games. And personally, I feel I'm overbuying because you should see my Steam library. It's probably like half full of games that I will never play, but because they were part of this bundle.
Oh God, it's on sale! I gotta get that. That's like $3. I have to.
I know.
Yeah,
it's like, and every time there's a Steam sale, I just, whether I'm on 9gag or on Facebook or whatever, someone posts something about, oh, there's a Steam sale, and everyone else is just like, no, why did you tell us? Now we have to go see. And I was thinking, like, well, are we shopping more games online now?
I think we totally are.
Yeah, because, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, at the same time, though, I feel like there are more sales on Steam and Origin and stuff like that than there are on, for example, my local GameStop. I mean, I go and visit my local GameStop and
There's
another.
GameStops in Norway?
There are.
Holy
we have
shit.
GameStop. But the thing is, it's like every time I'm there, it's like they have this tiny shop. And when you have a tiny shop, you can only have the newest games because you don't have that much room. So they only have the newest releases. And what they do have on sale is just like this tiny basket of games that are not even that old, and they're not even,
good.
They're not even that good. Whereas online, like on PlayStation Store or whatever, they don't have that problem. You don't have a space problem because there are unlimited space for files, and you can buy games that haven't been in stores for years and it's not an issue. But stores normally now, they won't have the actual games in their stores, because why should they have 4-year-old games in their stores when they have to make room for the new ones? And online places are able to put old games on sale a lot more easier than GameStops, for example, because they actually have them.
Well, I'll be honest there. That's not really it doesn't really resonate all the time, because you do have you still have the old Call of Duties, and they still sell those, for instance. Because the local GameStops, they sell the good, like they sell the games that sell, basically. That's what they stock, and that's what they come up with. You won't find like niche indie games. You won't find Japanese localized releases. Well, there's some exceptions to that, though. I mean,
think that's very localized in like special areas in that case, yeah.
But I think, like, the overbuying might be a big part of it, because especially PC gamers with the Steam thing, they have so many Steam games. I have a lot of them. That's because I bought like 15 Humble Bundles. It's like, oh shit, there's one game I want, and it's only $3, and then you get
4 more games.
Yeah, well, I don't have like the biggest Steam backlog, because I do play most of them. Like, even if it's only for an hour, I just want to see what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think you have a point there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can totally relate to Julie. I got like 163 games and 218 DLC in my Steam library, and I play like 20 of them at best. So I've got like 140 games that I do not touch, but they came with the sale. I was like, holy shit, it's like $2. Let's get it.
But you're like the Steam wizard, though. You're an exception.
But I'm also thinking, like, but when you have all these games in your library and you see them and you're like, why the hell did I buy this?
Yeah,
it's like, if you actually went to a game store in your town or in your city, like, would you have picked up a hard copy of this game? Like, no, you probably wouldn't. No.
No, probably not, because sometimes I'm just scrolling through my library and I got like 7 Japanese indie-esque puzzle games, and I'm like, when the hell did I get that?
I'll be honest here. Like, I have this like a shelf with games, and with every physical game, I know exactly where I bought it and when. It's kind of weird, because I can tell you exactly when I bought Monster Hunter for Ultimate. I can tell you exactly when I bought Pokemon Omega Ruby or something like that. I can tell you exactly when and where I bought The Witcher or Destiny. I know exactly when and where. And for my Steam library or my PSN games, or a while back my Xbox 360 games, like, no, I have no idea when I bought them.
You had to go through your account details just to see when and where you purchased.
It's like, holy shit, did I ever buy this? And then, oh no, it was free. Oh, okay. Then why did
I feel like if you actually buy a hard copy of a game in a game store, like, you made a conscious decision to go out and get this game, or you went in and something really piqued your interest. It wasn't like you were just scrolling past and going, oh, that's just $1, let's buy. It's actually something that you really wanted to buy. And
Well, I get you have a point there, I think. Yeah.
yeah.
Also with the Steam sales and stuff like that, you just use the shopping cart, so some games can go a bit unnoticed, but they're so cheap you don't really pay attention to it, and then later you realize, where the hell did I get that?
Oh, that's
So-
not. I've never had that. I've never accidentally bought a game.
Oh well, it wasn't accidental, but when there's a big Steam sale, I'm just scrolling past games a bit absent. I'm just scrolling but not really paying attention, and it's like, holy shit, that's 50 cents. Let's add it, and then like 2 weeks later, what the hell is this?
I accidentally the whole game.
Yeah, exactly,
I just stumbled over it and it just fell into my pockets.
exactly that.
Yep.
Well, I think we've kind of exhausted this topic. Johnny, my man, what do you have for us this week? Johnny, you'll have to rejoin. We can't hear you anymore, so you have to rejoin. And in the meantime, we'll pick it up with Jeffrey.
All
So,
right.
Jeffrey, while Johnny is...
I'm back.
Oh, he's back. Well,
Yeah.
Johnny, what do you have for us this week?
Seeing that Tom Clancy's Division is coming out around March the 8th, we were discussing a little bit about RPG elements and stuff like that, and I've noticed that there's a lot of mixed elements in RPGs right now. Like with the release of Final Fantasy VII, which are going to introduce a combat system, Final Fantasy 15, which is going to have a different combat system. It's not as turn-based as it used to be anymore. Are traditional RPGs on decline, do you guys think? Or is it to a point in time where we got in society where it's like, you know what, it's time to put the old dog down and try to go to a different route of looking at it? Because the only part that I've noticed so far is that JRPGs stay tried and true to the old formula of turn-based.
Yeah,
stuff.
gather the crystals and...
Save the world and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think the thing is, turn-based JRPGs these days are solely played for nostalgia value.
Yeah, throwbacks
Really?
to like old
Yeah.
days of when that thing was like the hype and stuff like that.
When because the split in RPGs with the Western and the Japanese RPG is kind of because the Japanese way of storytelling is more about telling a story about a certain person instead of making you the protagonist of the story. So they had to they used a lot of text to do that, which meant they could tell huge stories with a very small game. And that's where we got the turn-based JRPG battle system from, is because they had to incorporate some kind of game into it, and that is the best and the simplest way to do it. This is one of the reasons why Bravely Default sold so well, is because it is a throwback. Yeah, it's a throwback to Final Fantasy III, basically. And that's why it sold so well. And that's why Bravely Second is going to sell just as well. And I think the JRPGs are like a callback, like a throwback to the years gone past, where we sit in front of our little CRT TVs with a SNES controller in our hands playing Chrono Trigger for hours on end. Like that.
Man.
I know.
Man. My heartstrings, please. No.
That's exactly what I mean. I think every JRPG that uses that traditional turn-based system is kind of a throwback. That's why people play them.
Because like the Division right now is like a third-person shooter, which like it's based on like on a pandemic that's coming around and stuff like that. So you kind of have a plot where it's centered around something, and it's like third-person shooter RPG. What? So it's kind of like, all right, that's something different. You have seen these before and stuff like Borderlands and stuff like that, but like it's being a big reoccurring thing for the last decade. So I was wondering whether or not it's stopping, like regular traditionals are stopping being made.
I think we actually have a great example of this. We have here our own Final Fantasy X junk who played it through solely because of nostalgia value. He bought a system because of nostalgia. And we have a great example sitting right here.
Yep.
Why? Like, tell us, Jeffrey. Why did you decide to play Final Fantasy X again?
The story of Titus is so amazing. It's the only game that actually made me cry at the ending. Manly tears, nonetheless.
Aw.
But you
Oh,
live.
bullshit! Nothing manly about it. You bawled like a child.
Well,
I've been
in all honesty, yes, I did. But the story is being so well told, and you start to really live with your characters. And then at the ending, it's so heartbreaking the way it ends, and it just, man, the game is so amazing, and it has a great replay value. So, yeah, I totally not regret buying a PS3 just to play the game.
And the thing is,
No.
I think he's kind of reinforcing our point because he would have never bought that game if he hadn't played it years ago.
Nope, I wouldn't.
See, that's
Yeah,
what I mean.
exactly.
Every JRPG is a throwback. Well, the turn-based ones. There are some JRPGs out there that don't do the throwback thing and do it right, but it's not really what we're talking about here. I think we've exhausted this as well. How about you, Jeffrey? The last topic of the week.
So yeah, my topic for this week was the viability of porting. Should we really port games, or should we keep them exclusive to the original platform? I mean, like you just said, I mean, I bought a PS3 just to play Final Fantasy X HD Remake, and if it wasn't for certain ports, I wouldn't be able to play amazing games because I didn't own aforementioned console for. But some ports are really terribly done by certain studios. So, and I mean, cross-platform compatibility is amazing. So, but seeing as the history with some ports, should we really port, or should we keep them exclusive to their platform? And that's what I wanted to hear your opinion about.
No, I kind of agree. Cross-platform compatibility is good. is great. The thing is,
Nearly. Yeah.
compatibility.
Yeah.
It's a
No, but
stupid word.
To be honest, there's so many ports going on these days, and I think it's kind of what the industry needs, because you bring out a game, and because of things like console wars or PC gaming or whatever, you don't want to limit yourself to just one target audience that just has this console. I think porting games is very important, but porting them well is what makes it so important.
Yeah, exactly. And in the past, some studios didn't do this the right way, and it totally destroyed some player base. So, so it's actually I think it's up to the developers to choose, should we port this or not, and not by some third-party studios like, yeah, we're going to port this.
Yeah, but that they are the ones actually making the decisions. The publishers are the ones giving the money. So if they decide that a game should get ported, then it gets ported. But do it well and take your time. Don't pull an Arkham Knight on us.
This so much. Arkham Knight was horrible.
I haven't even played the game, but the game actually got pulled from Steam because it was so buggy and so bad. But there's other games that do it right. Like if you have the whole Elder Scrolls Online thing, the PC version. Well, okay, when it came out, it was kind of buggy, but that was just the game itself. And now that they fixed it and ported it, it works great.
Yeah, exactly. I have no complaints whatsoever. I was kind of reluctant to buy it because at first everyone was complaining it's so buggy and it's so bad. But because of the community feedback, they managed to patch the real bugging thing. So, and the game is pretty stable, pretty good. So that's a perfect example of how to do it right.
All right. Any of you have anything to add to this, or?
Well, I was just thinking, like, I definitely like it when they do port it because personally, I play mostly on PS. No, PC.
Yes.
PC, sorry. I play mostly on PC, so it's like, I want to play games that
play
were.
the game too.
Yeah, I want to play it too, but at the same time, I do, recognize the the different companies needs for having exclusive games for their consoles, so that people will actually buy the consoles. It's something about that as well.
That's kind of a vicious circle, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. And it's like, so while I do understand that, I am madly jelly sometimes. So
I never get to experience my sweet Bloodborne.
But I do think that a lot of games are getting ported, that are very popular and stuff like that. But at the same time, I don't think we're going to get to a point where all games are getting ported. Like that's not going to happen. There are going to be exclusives, and if you want to play it, you'll just have to get the console.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, right? And that's the vicious circle we were talking about. Like at some point, companies want people to buy just their console, so they pump out exclusives. But then the players say, well, we want this ported. Well, that's not the way it works most of the time.
Yeah.
Then the publisher comes in and says, well, there is a huge demand for PC gamers, so we want this ported.
No, not the publisher in this case. Like most of the platform exclusives have like an exclusivity deal with either Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo, that kind of thing. That's why Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate never got released on a Vita. And it's actually a great example. The Monster Hunter series was PlayStation exclusive for a long time, just appearing on PlayStation systems. But with Monster Hunter Tri, that only came out on the Wii, and they kind of they struck an exclusivity deal. Capcom did with Nintendo, and for instance, the last installment in the series, like it could have been graphically better. The gameplay could have been better because of the fact that you have two sticks like by default, and you don't need a new 3DS for that. But on the other hand, would the game have sold as well if it was released on Vita? Because we have two very great examples, two extremes here. We have the 3DS that's selling like hotcakes, and we have the Vita that's, well, I think like 20 people have bought it worldwide.
You being a proud owner of one.
Oh, yes, of course. I fucking love the Vita. But the Vita is huge in Japan. We all know that. They have, when you walk into a game store there, half the games are for Vita. And there's a lot of them. There's a lot of accessories. The Vita's huge there. And the game would have sold amazingly well in Japan. But how would it even have been received well here if it were just for Vita?
So you're also talking about region bound kind of games?
No. I'm just saying like Japan is kind of an exception because they have a lot of Vita owners, but the install base at the 3DS is way bigger in the rest of the world. So that's probably why Capcom opted to keep the exclusivity deal with Nintendo for that release.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, if you're going to, like port a game to another platform, you do kind of want that it would be well received around the world and not just one specific region where it's actually popular.
Yeah, that's it. We have to factor in the fact that, for instance, the Xbox has no install base in Japan, almost none. So if you want a game to sell well, like worldwide, you either have to make it multi-platform or to make it a PC release
or PS4 or.
No, because the PS4 might not be as well, might not have as big as of an install base as an Xbox does. Like in this, at this point, we have the PS4 is selling the Xbox One. We all know that by almost double. And that there's nothing wrong with that inherently, but I think that once the console generation ages a bit, it'll kind of even out, and the install base will be kind of even. But you'll be able to see throughout the world where the Xbox is more popular or where the PS4 is more popular, and you have to keep track of that as well if you're going to release an exclusive game. Well, anyway. I think that's enough topics for this week. Let's actually take a break, and we'll be right back after this break. Welcome back, everyone, to the D-Pod, your directional podcast. Have you enjoyed your break? We sure did. And we're going to go right through to Jeffrey with the new releases for this week.
So yeah, the releases that are going to be mentioned right now are releases that will take place between today and February 21. And first on the list, we've got Street Fighter V, which will be released for the PS4 and the PC on February the 16th.
Oh, yes!
Seems like someone is really excited for that one.
I'm not gonna be able to buy it right away, but my body is ready.
Yep.
That says enough. We also got, for the February of 16th, we also got Project X Zone 2, which will be released for the, I think it's the 3DS.
Yep.
We got Mitsuraguri Kamuhike for the PS4, also released on February the 16th.
Holy shit, that was fluid.
I can speak a little bit of Japanese, eh? Layers of Fear, also on February the 16th, which will be for the PlayStation 4. And we got Pixel Piracy, also for the PS4, on February the 16th.
I own that one on Steam.
Really?
Pixel Piracy, that rings a bell. I think I own this
I think
game.
it's on Steam.
I have really no idea.
All right.
We got Rainbow Moon, also for February the 16th, and also only for the PS4.
Is that like Harvest Moon?
I have no idea.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to Google that because Harvest Moon is kind of cool.
Well, maybe it's related to the game, so who knows? We also got Randall's Monday for the PS4, also on February the 16th. A lot of PS4 releases.
How is that not coming out on a Monday?
I have no
That's a missed
idea.
opportunity right there.
I think maybe a delayed issue or something. But we also got Tron Run R for February the 16th, also on the PS4.
Oh,
Damn,
yeah,
the PS
Tron
got a lot
Tron
of
Runner.
releases.
That's why you should get a PS4.
A lot of release. I didn't expect this many releases in 1 week for the PS4. We also got Super Blast Deluxe for on February the 16th for the PlayStation Vita. And surprise, surprise, Rocket League is being ported to Xbox One.
No, we already knew this. Like, this is old news.
Going to be released on February the 17th. We got Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc.
Oh yeah,
which will be released on PC on February the 18th. And
guys, you should get that. I own this game on. I played the fan translation on PSP, and I played the official translation on Vita. You should get this game, especially if you like the graphic novel type games, if you like escape the room games, if you like anything that's even remotely close to Phoenix Wright. Get this game. It is one of the best visual novels out there in gaming. Get it now.
It's pretty edgy. It is pretty edgy.
It is edgy if you like thrillers and horror stories and kind of a post-apocalyptic vibe to it. You want to get this game. Go get it. It's a little kooky. It's a little over the top sometimes, but it's so damn good.
well, I've been looking for a new game, so I'll definitely check it out.
Get it.
All right, relax.
I even own the sequel on Vita, and the sequel, even though the sequel is like not as good as the first one, it's still very solid and such a good game.
It did clear up a whole lot on the first one, though.
Yeah, it did. Like at the end of the first one, like spoiler free, totally spoiler free. Don't worry. But at the end of the first one, there are a couple of questions left unanswered. Like it's a very open ending. And the sequel takes care of that.
Yep.
All right, sounds awesome. So to continue the list, we got Fire Emblem Fates Birthright, which will be released on February the 19th on the 3DS and the 3DSe. I think that's a special edition or something. I don't own a 3DS. So.
I don't know what a 3DSi is, but
E. I said E, not I. I said E.
E. Oh, but that means eShop, dude.
All right, just like PSN Vita.
Yep.
All right, cool. We got also Fire Emblem Fates Conquest on February the 19th. So I guess the two releases of the same game.
Yeah, it's like a Pokemon game. There's two releases.
Right. It actually sounds like a DLC or something, but yeah, it's
No,
also
it's one game you're on the good guy's side, and the other game you're on the bad guy's side. Not necessarily like that because it's not a black and white situation, but you're on opposing sides.
Oh, right. So it kind of tells the same story from a different angle.
Yeah, one of my friends is getting it, and he's going like, "Okay, I'm gonna get both of them, and you're gonna play through one, and I'm gonna play through the other, and then we're gonna switch."
There are actually 3 because we also got Fire Emblem Fate Special Edition, or that's probably the 2 combined. That's also a possibility. Also on February the 19th for the 3DS, and the last but not least, Bayonetta 2 for the Wii U on February the 19th.
That game has a lot of hype going for it. Like, a lot of people are looking forward to it. I'm personally not that much of a Bayonetta fan, but I can see how, like, this game, we've been waiting for it for a long time, I think.
Yep. Since Bayonetta 1, a lot of players, including myself, was a little bit upset that the Wii U did make it an exclusive. So it's kind of like mixed feelings about that. But it's still, good to see that I might end up still getting it. Not for the fact of the, Wii. I'm not getting it for the Wii, but I just like the whole story arc in general. And I like the game. So I still might end up getting it.
All right. Is that all new releases?
Yep, that would be all.
Well, in that case, we're going over to news, and we have a lot of news stories this week. And I wanted to open up myself, actually, with the one we've been discussing in the Facebook chat the most by far. And that is Kanye West announces his very own game called Only Won the Game on his own live stream. Now, a lot of people have been giving Kanye crap, and I don't like the guy either. But this game is supposedly about his mother's ascendance to heaven. And I think that's, first of all, that's adorable. Second of all, the trailer looks like, oh my God, it's an abomination. It's live. It's live action. Like, there's this black woman in there that's supposed to symbolize, I guess, his mother. His mother, I think, I don't know exactly how old she was when she passed away, but this woman that portrays her is, for some reason, like, I think she might be like in her high 20s, but she plays this woman that's in middle aged. So she has the like whole Whoopi Goldberg haircut, but she has a body that just doesn't go with it. And you see her flying, and it's really badly animated. And you see this scene of her like growing wings, which is also very badly animated. Even though, like, it so far it sounds like a piece of shit, but I'm still gonna give it a shot, and I'm still gonna play it because I think this is gonna be brilliant either way. Like, the guy can afford to make this flop. Like, he's making this game for himself and not as a cash grab because he doesn't need the cash. He's making this as a personal project. A lot of people don't know, and I also didn't know. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a Kanye fan or anything, but when researching for this article, I actually found out that Kanye West himself wanted to be a video game developer. And back then, his mom bought him like a bunch of software suites to play around with video game development and play around with music development. But at that point, he started leaning more and more towards the music editing and the music producing than he did towards the video games. So, for all we know, like, if it wouldn't have been for that, Kanye West would have been the next Peter Molyneux. Because I totally see them having both making promises they can't keep and disappointing a lot of people. Both have a god complex, so I think that one way or the other, either it's gonna be like a game that's just very badly playable, and that's why it's so good. That's kind of what I want to see. A game so bad that it's good, and then everyone's gonna want to give Kanye crap about it, but it's actually not that bad. That's what I want to see.
I feel so awkward by it because it's like, what if it's really bad and it's about his dead mom? It's just like, I don't want to give you crap for your game.
Yeah, I kind of see that, and that's why I think like he won't fuck it up. I think he'll actually pour a lot of heart in this game, and that's why I'm curious to see how it turns out. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, true.
Like I think it's gonna be bad gameplay wise, but it's gonna be a story that he's actually trying to tell, like from the heart, right? So I'm curious. I want to see this.
Yeah, I definitely want to see it too.
Yeah, moving on to the next news story, and I believe Julie wanted to take this. Mad Catz lays off 37% of staff in restructuring plan.
Yeah, they absolutely did. They laid off 37% of staff in a plan to bolster its business, is the plan. This is actually coming in the wake of an announcement yesterday. Well, not yesterday, because the article is a couple of days older than that. But several of the top executives of the company actually resigned, including the CEO, Darren Richardson, and the senior VP of Business Affairs, Whitney Peterson, and company chairman, Thomas Brown. And to me, that doesn't sound very good. If the bosses are jumping ship and you're cutting 37% of staff, that doesn't sound too good.
The thing is, I think Mad Catz is in a weird place. But Mad Catz, when I was a little boy, was analogous with badly made controllers that didn't work or broke. When you went over to a friend's place, he was like, "Okay, I'm getting the first party controller that came with the system, and you are getting the crappy Mad Catz controller." But now they're actually one of the leading manufacturers of top grade fight sticks.
Yeah, well, I think it's really interesting too, because I personally, I'm a Mad Catz fan. Some of the merchandise that they have for PC, like their mouses. I have one of their headsets, for example, which I'm using right now, and I love the look of some of their products. And to me, I was like, oh no, wow, what's going on?
Well, you have like these rat mice.
I used to have a rat mice. Yeah,
I think they look like Optimus Prime's left testicle, and I'm not saying that's necessarily bad. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, because they actually look pretty good, but it's
and this keyboards as well.
It's kind of this aesthetic. It doesn't really speak to me because I don't personally like it, but I can see how people do. And there's this thing where like they have these strike keyboards that look like
god
to use as enterprise. It's oh my god,
I can go on about their strike keyboards. I think they look so sick. Now if their strike 9 keyboard was mechanical, I mean, I would have that.
Honestly, I don't like, that's the kind of aesthetic that just reinforces the fact, like, I'm this kind of basement dweller gamer who has this enormous keyboard with all kinds of screens and a coffee cup holder and the charging ports and a dock for your phone and like a hair dryer. And
I'm a cellar dweller. Hear me roar.
No, but I do think it's kind of a like it. I don't like that they're laying off that many staff, because it's not a good sign, especially what you say. Once the higher ups start jumping ship, then that's not a good sign. Though I do think that they are still going, and maybe the restructuring will bring us more Mad Catz products.
Yeah. Well, from what I can tell from the article as well, is that the company's sales have actually gone up a lot from year to year, but lately it's experienced a very low demand for audio and PC products, and there's been a huge decrease in sales in European and Asian regions. So yeah, I can see why they're struggling.
All right. Well, next article, Jeffrey, how about you take this one? Large Destiny expansion coming later this year, and the sequel coming in 2017.
So during Activision's fourth quarter conference press release, they confirmed that there is new content for Destiny, or at least that it's in development, and that it's coming later this year. and they say it will be a large new expansion, but they weren't really specific for the time frame release. So yeah.
It's probably going to be in the last quarter, though. I do think, like Bungie, in this case, they've done a great job, like tweaking the game more and more to the side where it feels very good to play. It's an MMO that basically that doesn't punish you for not playing, and it's really a casual game. And they're already said, like, yeah, we're okay if you play our game for 2 months, then put it down for a couple of weeks, and then play it again. We don't mind that. That's what we want you to do, and that's, I think, the expansion, because the last expansion they did, the Taken King, was actually pretty good, and I hope they continue that trend. Though I don't think the sequel is 2017. I think that might be the perfect timing to release a sequel, as long as there is some kind of throwback to old content. At least that's what I'm hoping for. All right, next news article. And I'm going to give this over to Johnny here. And that is, let's see, head of Sony VR studio steps down.
Yeah, I was reading it a bit back. Dr. Dave Rainyard, oh, sorry, Mr. Rainyard, is leaving Sony's London studio and is the developer of various PlayStation VR demos, which is London High's shown. And then, in order to independently work on other VR projects himself, and the take on the editorial, the author basically, was that he didn't want to be part of that studio at a time, or be part of the new world. Basically, he wants to work on VR, but he wants to work on furthering the development of the systems themselves, rather than having to work on the game. So I guess he just wants to make VR better, rather than sitting down, creating the games themselves.
I think that actually might be a good development. Like, that might be a step in the right direction, because the game developers are the ones that know how a game feels, and he, with all his experience, might actually be able to make things like the PlayStation VR work.
Yeah,
like
the Morpheus the Morpheus thing. It's
actually called PlayStation VR now.
Oh, it's called VR now. Oh, okay.
Just PlayStation VR. The Morpheus thing was just a code name for in development titles.
Cool.
All right, and the next news article that I'm going to be doing myself is a tweet from Bethesda announced that they are working on a revamped survival mode for Fallout 4, which includes food, sleep, diseases, danger, and more. And they're telling us to stay tuned. Now, I'm hoping they do the same thing as in New Vegas, where you have to eat periodically, you have to drink, bullets had weight, that kind of thing. And I'm hoping they patch this into Fallout 4, preferably not as DLC. As there's probably a DLC coming. They have a press conference scheduled very soon, I believe. But I do hope that they patch this into the base game, because I'd love to do a playthrough just hardcore style.
I think the patch, what you're saying, is mostly like what's expected as well from the players. I mean, if you look at this, the Twitter response to this tweet, I mean, most people are just going, "Why wasn't this in the game from the beginning?" What?
I'm actually really excited for this.
So it's basically gonna be like Fallout 4 real life mode. Good luck, guys.
Well, Fallout New Vegas had this, and I'm thinking like it might. Fallout 3 didn't have it, but the Fallout 4 was made by Bethesda again, though New Vegas was made by Obsidian. So I do think that it's not just their call here. They might have been working on it, but they don't have a lot of experience with it. A lot of modders took that up on themselves to actually bring out mods that have this hardcore functionality.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's about all we can say about that. So how about you, Julie? What do you think about Europeans getting a discount on the eShop version of Bravely Second by downloading the demo?
Well, I think that's pretty cool.
You wanted to take this article. I just segued.
So Nintendo of Europe has announced a Bravely Second End Layer promotion, and the promotion is basically that they've released a demo on Nintendo 3DS eShop in Europe, and if you download the demo, you will get a 10% discount on the full game. So if you buy the game, and it only applies to a future Nintendo eShop purchase. So if you want to use the 10% discount, you'll have to buy the online version, the digital copy, to qualify it. The demo and the promotion will remain in effect until March 10th this year. So you could grab the 10-hour demo today. And
10 hours? Jesus Christ!
That's really good.
I downloaded it, and from what the game already told me, like the demo says at the beginning, like you can unlock stuff in the full game by playing the demo. So the same thing that the Pokemon Omega Ruby demo did. Like you can keep on playing and replaying the demo for more content in the actual game, but I don't know if this is a bad thing, but I started up the game and it felt exactly like Bravely Default. It felt exactly the same. Like it looked the same, and even the menus were stylized in the exact same way. The only thing that I could spot that kind of changed was the fact that they now have in Bravely Default, when you were walking around on the overworld, you had this map on your bottom screen, and it would show you an approximate location of your character, and it wouldn't like live update as soon as you went over to the next small area. Then it would put the dot there, and now you have an actual arrow that shows where you are in real time. That's the only change I spotted. So I don't know if this is a bad thing. Like Bravely Default did a lot of things right, and it might be in their best interest to stick to this formula. However, is it maybe not doing enough new stuff, or is it just more of Bravely Default?
Well, it is still the demo, though. So, I mean, there's probably the rest of the 60? No, not that's over exaggerating. Like the rest of like the 20 hours that you can get out of it is probably.
You think you can only get 20 hours out of a Bravely Default game? No.
No, I mean basically out of it, dude, out of any RPG game, basically you can get almost infinite amount of time if you want to.
I mean, like even the first playthrough, I think I'm like 40 hours in, and I'm 3 out of 4 crystals. So
yeah, so I mean, like you still don't know like what exactly it has changed from the original. So I guess they want from the start they want to give you the same exact feel or bait you into thinking that it's the exact same way, and they'd be like, "Ha, gotcha."
Maybe that would be insanely cool. I kind of like that. I kind of think that would be a good thing where they kind of lead on and draw in the players that played Bravely Default, because you're not gonna pick up Bravely Second first. There's no reason.
No,
because it is like a sequel. It is a story continuation of the first game. And it's good. I love the first game. Hell, I have it right here, and it's good. I played it a lot, and there's this weird twist at the end I've heard of. Like it's not really a twist, but there's apparently there's a story reason for a new game plus. So it's for one of the first games to actually say like, okay, there's a new game plus, and this is the reason why you have to play through it again. And apparently, completing the game takes like 5 playthroughs back to back. So I'm hoping that the next game does the same thing. And while we wait for it to come out, I'm gonna play the first one.
Because there's a possibility that maybe like some of the new players that are basically coming into the new series, maybe it's not the wisest thing to start off with the second one, but maybe not to alienate. Like if you haven't played any of the, just off of my nose here, like any of the Persona like sequels or anything like that, if you haven't played any of the first iterations of it, it can kind of make you awkward, even though there are demos and stuff like that. they don't want you to remember stuff or have to force yourself to like, oh, maybe I have to play the first one or something like that.
Well,
So,
if you have the Persona games, like even though they're numbered, they
mhm.
don't really have a connecting story. They have small cameos, but they don't have like a big overarching story to them. But
Yeah, but
even the title for the Bravely Default
Mhm.
game kind of turns you off from buying it as the first installment in the series because the name is Bravely Second. Which is kind of weird, by the way, because there is a system in Bravely Default that's called Bravely Second. It's kind of weird. There's a system where you gain SP by putting the system in sleep mode, and every 8 hours you're playing or it's in sleep mode, you get 1 SP, and you can use that to kind of in between the turns. For in like the JRPG battle system, like in between the turns, you can activate Bravely Second and get extra turns, basically. So there's this system that they use to name the second game, and I think it's kind of meta. I'm not sure what to think about this. But let's move on to the next news article, and I think this would be a good one for Jeffrey to take. Ubisoft officially not releasing an Assassin's Creed game in 2016.
Yeah, I really don't know how I should feel about that, in all honesty. I mean, they have consecutively every year released a new Assassin's Creed game each year, and it's kind of weird to imagine they won't be doing that this year. But yeah, it's an exciting time for Assassin's Creed, apparently. They're only a few months removed from the debut of Jacob and Evie Fry, the stars of Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and yeah, well, I really don't know what to think of this.
I think it's a good thing. They already said we're gonna take this year to like re-examine the series and see what we can do with it. And we've been giving, like, I don't know about you guys, but a lot of people, including me, have been giving Assassin's Creed a lot of crap for just pumping out new releases every year without really doing anything new.
Yeah,
More
of
the
course.
same.
I think it's a good thing. I personally also agree that it's
Yeah.
a good thing. It's kind of like I used to be an avid player of the series as well. I played 1 and 2. I got the white edition, the special edition of number 2. The whole like gauntlet 9th thing. I was considering getting that when it was all the hype, and it was
It's
like,
called a hidden blade. Come on, man. Come on. It's
mm-hmm,
basic information.
mm-hmm. Yes.
Well,
And
go
and
ahead.
I wasn't like, I was kind of like after like the third one where the story got a little more convoluted. They didn't really stick to the storyline that I liked as much since the beginning. Then I was kind of like, you know what? No. Then number 4, then the one with the pirates, and the one
4
where
was the one with the pirates, and that one is actually pretty good. I bought it like not too long ago, and it's actually pretty good.
no, it's not to say like the game is beautiful. The games are very beautiful. Most of the Assassin's Creed games are very beautiful games. They're very good period pieces, but it just feels that they're just very, I don't know, I wouldn't want to say mundane or repetitive, but it just feels like that most of the time. You just
Oh, it
kind
is
of
repetitive. Yeah.
Totally repetitive.
That's why Assassin's Creed 4 was such a success. Like even for people who don't play the like haven't played much of the games, it's first of all, they didn't release it as Assassin's Creed 4. Again, with the names, they released it as Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And
Yep.
it is Assassin's Creed 4, but people still came in. It's a detached story.
Mhm.
Like, and it's very meta. I love this about the game. Like, when it came out, I was listening to one of the podcasts on I think it was called Kind of Funny, and there was these guys. They are Telltale employees. They work at Telltale Games, and this guy was like super hyped to play Black Flag after a long work week of developing games. So he goes into the game and he starts like being a pirate and chasing stuff and then getting his assassin's outfit. And then the sequence ends and a game developer gets into a sequence about how he is a game developer after a long week of working games. And he's like, nope. And he puts the game down, never plays it again. But I think it's very meta because they're actually like in the game itself. They're going like, yeah, and watch our biggest hit, Assassin's Creed Liberation, which was a flop like in real life, but that doesn't matter. It's very meta and it works well. And I'm hoping they do kind of the same thing with the new Assassin's Creed game that they will apparently release, not in 2016. Which, by the way, we've discussed this before on the podcast. We had a rumor coming in from Kotaku, which has always been notorious for giving very accurate rumors about the Assassin's Creed series. They already said, yeah, they're not going to release a game in 2016, which has been on point. And now they already said that there was a rumor going about how the next Assassin's Creed game will be set in ancient Egypt.
Ooh.
That'd be so good. Oh my god.
No, I would.
That'll be so good, yeah.
I'm hoping that they were accurate when it comes to that as well, because I want it. I want that game so much.
There is so much to work with. There is so much.
Imagine like free running up to the top of a pyramid, where there's like this little perch where you synchronize like Ubisoft style. You sit on the perch on top of a pyramid.
Well, jumping off would be kind of awkward, seeing as you kind of go on a
Even
slope.
just like a marketplace, surrounded by pyramids, a marketplace like in ancient Egypt and all that kind of stuff.
Interacting with pharaohs and with the people who like build pyramids and temples. Who are not slaves, by the way. They were paid laborers. Thank you very much. Just clearing that up here. No, but I think there's so much to work with because the history of ancient Egypt is already rich. And if we get to experience that through the eyes of Assassin's Creed, the same way they did Black Flag.
Yeah, just what they can do about the artwork, though. I mean, just that will be amazing. I really hope that they take this year and like they work super hard on the game and they just come back in 2017 and just smash it so hard.
That's what I'm waiting for. Like, I think they need this year off or this year to work on the next one, basically, like an extra year. And if it's an Egypt game, I'm gonna buy it. I'm buying it too. Like, I want this. I want to hook up my PS4 and jump into Egypt because it's a setting that not many games explore, especially from more of a historical standpoint than just the Egyptian tombs you're raiding, that kind of thing. And I can't wait. Anyway, I think we've gone on for too long. Julie, you had another article you wanted to do. Oh, wait, we already did the Blade a second. I'm sorry.
We did me. I think it's JJ's turn.
No, JJ did the last one.
The VR, the Quantum Break PC release.
You wanted to do the well, you do the Quantum Break PC release.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. The Quantum Break PC release. Most of you guys didn't probably know about the Quantum Break series already, it's gonna be releasing somewhere around like I think April. Like somewhere around there. Yeah. End of March, beginning April, something like that.
April 5, I believe. April the 5th. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken.
And for most of you guys probably didn't know about the franchise, it is also it's going to be serialized as well. So half of the game is serialized, half of the game is going to be on your game. And it is going to be released for Windows 10, which a whole lot of people do not quite like that. That's going to be a few non-fans of the OS are going to be forced to use it if they want to play that game.
By the way, people remembered the fact that this was originally an Xbox One launch game. Yeah, it was supposed to be an Xbox One launch game.
And Xbox was like, it's fine. We're gonna do a different platform as well, so they released it on PC. So that's
I think the Windows 10 thing. I personally use it and I have no trouble with it. It's a free upgrade, so stop bitching about it. Stop. But it's been shown though that Windows 10 has handles DirectX a little bit better. So I think that is why they are requiring it.
Yeah.
Well, then the next news story, and I think Jeffrey would like to take this one. And even if he doesn't, I'm forcing him. Amazon introduces a new free game engine called Amazon Lumberyard.
Well, the joke's on you because I don't mind tackling this one because I actually am going to try this one. I've been using the Unreal Engine as well, trying to get some game development going. So this looks pretty excited. So Amazon Lumberyard is apparently a free AAA game engine deeply integrated with AWS and Twitch with full source.
Ooh.
So it's a cross-platform and a 3D game engine, and you can create AAA quality games and connect your games to the vast compute and storage of the AWS cloud, and engage fans in Twitch. And by starting game projects with Lumberyard, you can spend more of your time creating game gameplay than rather having to create an engine and stuff like that. And you can build communities and fans, and you don't have to do much of the heavy lifting. So yeah, I'm actually going to try this out pretty soon.
The thing is,
Well, it's available in beta today. Like, you can download the beta right now if you want to.
I'm actually going to do that right now.
the thing is, with game engines, there's nothing like against another free game engine. Every free game engine out there is a step in the right direction.
I
Like, there's
agree.
nothing bad about it. This is 100% positive. Like, maybe, okay, it's Amazon, so I'm not sure what to expect of it, but this is a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. We had Unreal Engine, we got Source Engine. So the fact there's a new free engine just shows the importance of newer game engines.
Hold on. Is Source free? I don't think it is.
It actually is. The Source Engine, the normal Source Engine is actually free, but the Source Engine 2, which is coming very soon, isn't. That's not open source, but the Source Engine itself is.
The Source Engine not being open source, it's kind of weird, but
well, the Source Engine 2.0. So there's a new Source Engine coming pretty soon for Counter-Strike is also being ported to it, I heard. So there's going to be a lot of mechanical and gameplay issues to come in the next few months when it's gonna get released. So patches, stuff like that.
Yeah, it says here on the website that Amazon Lumberyard is free, including full source code. So you can, customize as much as you want. The only thing you have to pay for is the AWS services you choose to use.
Yeah, exactly.
Which you don't have to. Yeah.
So you don't have to store everything locally.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, moving on to the next news article, which I'll be taking myself, is that Titanfall 2 will have a single-player campaign, and a TV spin-off of the game is in development. Now, the first Titanfall game, I played it a lot, actually. I picked it up for cheap on a sale, and I got all the DLC for free. It was a very good game, actually. I'm not the first-person shooter type normally, but I was like, holy shit, it's a mech battling game. I want this. And that and free running. So yeah, but it caught a lot of flack for not having a single player campaign. And the thing is, they announced that it will actually have a normal single player campaign, which is good. I mean, it's not what people are going to play, because the thing is, as soon everybody plays this kind of game for the multiplayer. And people are like, oh, yeah, we just want the multiplayer. Just focus on making that great. And as soon as a game comes out that doesn't have it, they go apeshit. It went the same thing with, I think it's Black Ops 3, where they didn't include the campaign on last gen. And I have to purchase it separately, which is not that weird, because seeing install sizes and platform restrictions. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but however, how the team of Titanfall, how they make I'm drawing a blank here. Sorry. Train of thought continuing. Like how they removed the campaign at first. Well, there was a single player campaign, but it played out. There was kind of this shtick where they were like, okay, so you play out the single player campaign while you're playing with other people. And what it boiled down to was that you basically got some story, some plot dumps on you while you were playing the multiplayer, like in the form of a little display on your HUD showing one face and just telling you like, okay, and nobody paid attention to it. Nobody did.
Of course not. You're trying not to die. So I mean,
yeah, but nobody actually cared about it. And I think
you're in a giant mech. I don't know how not cool that could not be.
Well, on the other hand, they did have 10 million individual users, so that is a lot of sales, meaning that the game was kind of successful, and it didn't have that single player campaign that everyone's looking for. So I think that it's kind of a weird decision of them to include it, even though the first game without the single player was so successful.
I think that probably I wanted to kind of discuss this actual aspect, and if we didn't do the whole first part of it, I like that we actually did the Titanfall thing. Where is like, do you find a single player or multiplayer in a game, a multiplayer type game, important or no? I wanted to kind of get everybody's idea on this.
Personally, I don't think if we all know that the people who buy these games, especially, we're gonna take a lot of inspiration for Call of Duty while discussing this. I mean, everybody buys that for the multiplayer. There's no way that, well, of course, there might be some people who buy it for the single player. But if you want a good single player shooter, then Call of Duty is not really the game you want to play. I don't think the single player in a multiplayer focused game is important. Like, it's the same thing if League of Legends would release a single player campaign. That's not what people are going to play. Like, it might be interesting, but it's not what people are going to play.
It's usually something that you play through like once when you buy the game, and then after that you're on the multiplayer.
Like the only reason people play the single player usually in Call of Duty games is to get used to the new mechanics and new controls.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like a tutorial, really, with a storyline.
Yeah, that's actually that's a whole lot how first-person shooters with stories are actually.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I got from the Titanfall story mode, is the fact that you start out in this like simulation, and you get used to the controls and get used to the like the Titan controls. You get used to all the mechanics in there, and that's basically all I got from the story mode. That's all I got from it. Like, I have no idea what the story is about. I don't know. And I played a lot of this game. I'll be honest. I played a lot of it, but I have no idea, really. So that maybe speaks to how important this is. Or not important, actually.
Well, the Titanfall 2 writer is promising us a more interesting story. So hopefully, how he's going to be writing the story, first person view of it is going to be hopefully interesting to keep us enthralled with the whole series, because it wasn't like the game didn't do too bad. It just didn't feel complete to some people. Some people were kind of complaining that it wasn't like full on the complete game that everyone were expecting, I guess. So it felt like it was missing something. So I
thought it felt very complete. That's maybe because I, of course, got the DLC maps for free, so maybe that played into it a little bit. But one thing I wanted to kind of quote from the article is, lead writer Jesse Stern promises Titanfall 2 will portray a world in which science meets magic, but a world which will still be grounded, dirty, human, and real.
Well, not literal magic, I hope. I think maybe figuratively speaking.
I hope figuratively, because as soon as they introduce like magic mech battles, then I think you're crossing over into Kojima territory right there. Yeah. Maybe it's best left to him. Speaking about Kojima, it's not like an actual news article, because I didn't think it had that much of an impact, but he actually has his own YouTube channel now. And there's this interview. There's this interview on there. He promised frequent updates, but there's this interview on there in which he imitates Kylo Ren smashing up all the consoles with a lightsaber. So if you want to see something funny, that's what. Yeah,
that sounds cute.
sounds bitter, though. It's
Yeah.
like, you want to take my royalties? Ah!
I think it's actually a very good metaphor for this entire Kojima situation. But yeah, anyway, I think that's all the news articles we have, and that is also all the podcast we have for this week. We've been going on for quite a long time anyway, so no problem there. Before we go, let's all plug our things. I'm Dennis Onderdijk. You can find me on Twitter on at DVoice_. You can find me on Twitch on at DVoice. If you want to add me on PSN, that's DVoiceHAX, so DVoiceHAX. You could also add me on Xbox Live under the same name. Not that I play it, but if you want to add me, go ahead. How about you guys? You plug your thingies.
All right, cool. Hey, it's JJ. You can contact me on Twitch at Thedangspro, and if you are interested in, in current games and all that type of stuff, you can follow my YouTube channel. That is the Dangs Productions. And if you want to catch me streaming Cardfight Vanguard Beta and are interested in the card game itself, it'll be twitch.tv/darkestjmr.
All right, Jilly, what about you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at TheCyria, and on Steam, if you want to add me there, I'm called TheCyria.
The only Syria.
The only.
The one and only.
The one and only. I'm fabulous. Yes.
And his
Jeffrey.
name is John Syria. All right, Jeffrey, how about you?
Yeah, guys, it's Jeffrey here. You can find me on Twitter at WTF with _. If you want to catch me streaming Counter-Strike Global Offensive on my Twitch, that's AutopsyGremlin right there. And if you would like to add me on Steam and play some games with me, I play like so many different games. You can add me on Steam, and my Steam ID is the same as my Twitch, which is AutopsyGremlin. And my YouTube, if you're interested in some gameplay footage from Counter-Strike or GTA or Final Fantasy, whatever.
Or
my
Final
YouTube
Fantasy guitar
course.
covers.
Yeah, exactly.
He does music now, ladies.
I indeed made a guitar cover to celebrate my 100% completion. But my YouTube channel is also at AutopsyGremlin.
All right. Well, people, that's all the podcast we have for you this week. Don't forget to write in at podcast@get-gaming.net. Also, don't forget that this podcast is brought to you by getgaming.net. So give them a check out. You can find the podcast there. You can find us on SoundCloud. And don't forget to rate on iTunes. If you like the podcast, give us 5 stars. It really helps. It might not seem like it does, but it gives us a feeling of accomplishment. So we'll see you all next week. And don't forget, subscribe and like.